Hello and welcome to my channel. Today you join me for the first episode of King Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Gran Turismo Sport. You may have seen last week that I made a video on Gran Turismo 7 on the King's Discuss series. But this week is the first episode of the King Reviews. In this series I intend to review games of all generations from PlayStation 2, 3 and 4. And eventually PS5 games once PS5's supply is sorted out and the prices have depreciated a little bit. Then yeah, eventually hopefully we get some videos of them. So let's get things started. So Gran Turismo Sport. I played this game in, I think it was July 2019 was the first time I played it, which is quite late in its development process and its life cycle. But I thought it was a fantastic game. It was in a way, it improved fantastic options, and it improved greatly on the previous generation of Gran Turismo, such as Gran Turismo 4, 5, and 6. And there was other factors that we had lost over this generation. Gran Turismo Sport, I feel, was definitely like a product line extension game where it was additional product in the same market, because it split off really from the Gran Turismo main path line of Gran Turismo 6, 7, 5, 4, all that sort of pathway, and split to Gran Turismo Sport. So in a way, by the name alone, you could sort of expect the game not to be quite the same as what we was expecting before. However, I feel like the game was actually quite good, and it was a massive improvement in certain aspects to the previous Gran Turismos. So let's talk about the good things first of all, the graphics. Let's just cover the graphics. Anyone who's played the game would have realised the graphics are absolutely fantastic. The car model design is fantastic, they're very accurate, and the interiors look really nice. You can see that the paint blemishes in some angles, and the colours are fantastic, and it's amazing. I don't know. I can't imagine what it's gonna be like in Gran Turismo 7 when they release their ray tracing and improved graphics on the PS5 system. It's gonna be unbelievable. So yeah, the graphics are fantastic, especially in the photo mode as well, where you got the scapes they call it in that game, where you place the car in a real world picture, and it just looks like the real thing. On my Twitter, I posted an image of Gran Turismo Sport versus Forza Horizon 3, sorry, and the difference is unbelievable. The colours and the car design is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, there's nothing to go wrong really with Gran Turismos. There is a little problem with the rendering, but we'll mention that in the bad points. The next good thing is the fantastic car details and animations. In the equivalent Forza games, the details are not quite there versus Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo's got some amazing details. For a start, you got the car features where you got the indicators that work, and you got the headlights design, and all the dashboard and the animations. Like like on digital dashboards, the way how the animations work with the numbers scrolling through, it's just really realistic and looks fantastic. You even see that the window stickers, the warning stickers on the windows, like the airbags and anti-fracture glass, and even the Frit brand, the Frit band, which is the black dots on the windows. You can see all that. Even the blue anti-glare line on the windows is fantastic details. It's unbelievable. It's much better than the equivalent Forza games, as they don't really carry those details over. Another good thing is excellent car sounds. Now this is a massive talking point in recent games. You know, for myself, playing Forza Horizon 4, how disappointed I was with the car sounds. In previous Gran Turismo 4 I thought was actually quite good. Yeah, I know there's memes out there saying it's like the Hoover, but fundamentally, when you actually stick the car in neutral and give it some revs, the car actually sounds not fantastic, but really good for a 15-year-old game. And some are actually quite accurate, especially like the Aston Martin Vanquish and the DB9 and cars like that. The sounds are quite good, but Gran Turismo Sport is just on another level. I understand that even in Gran Turismo 5 and 6 as well, though, that they did degrade over time, that the car sounds really not that accurate. There's some cars that have got V8s, they sound like 5 cylinders or 4 cylinders or V10s, and they shouldn't sound like that. And then some of them are tragically wrong, but mainly with the standard or yeah, the standard cars really. Simplified and simple cars that had that problem more than the premium and the detailed cars. But looking at Gran Turismo Sport, the car sounds are unbelievable. Gran Turismo Sport now has become sort of my go-to game when I want to just bimble about in some cars because the car sounds are so good. The Maserati, for example, the Gran Turismo S, if you drive that in a Forza Horizon 4, it sounds like a Ferrari engine. In Gran Turismo Sport, it doesn't. It sounds really realistic. It's fantastic. There are some problems with the sound though, but I'll mention that in the bad points later on. The next good thing with Gran Turismo Sport, as I mentioned in my Gran Turismo 7 video, there's no endurance races. Now, some people will be very disappointed in that. I know there's some people out there that really love and enjoy endurance races, but I can't imagine many have done them because I don't see any enjoyment in doing them, especially if you're not the best player ever and you have to then restart races and you're doing like 2-3 hour races at a time. I've never bothered with endurance races. I've never enjoyed them, and yeah, I'm pleased that they weren't in Gran Turismo Sport. And yes, there were some endurance races, but I think they were mainly around an hour long, hour and a half long, and that is a really long time, but it's much better than 24 hours, 3 hours, and all that sort of stuff that was in previous games like Gran Turismo 4, 5, and 6. As mentioned, there's an excellent photo mode in Gran Turismo Sport. It's so photorealistic, it is unbelievable. Although it can be a little bit more restrictive than Gran Turismo 5 and 6. With Gran Turismo 5 and 6, you could actually walk around the area, which I thought was really good. You select a camera angle, and then you can literally pretend to be almost like a person, and you can walk around the photo mode map, and I think that's absolutely fantastic because you can get a really good angle, move the car around a bit more, and it felt a bit more controllable than how it is in Gran Turismo Sport, where you're sort of in a photograph and you can't sort of exceed the barriers of that photograph. It's like there's walls there, and there's not much free play to move the cars around and move angles around and get a good picture. But some of them, but the graphics for them are absolutely fantastic. If you can have the graphics and have the move around feature in Gran Turismo 7, that would be amazing. As mentioned, the car functions like the hazard lights and the detailing is absolutely fantastic. The other thing I like about Gran Turismo Sport is the car wheel spins like Forza. I think you drive 20 miles a day in Gran Turismo Sport, you win. You get like a lucky dip of 4 cars. I think it's about 4 cars. You get a lucky dip on every day. It gives people a reason to return, especially if you haven't got all the cars. It's a fantastic way of earning them. I've won quite a lot of really nice cars through there. And that's just by doing like 20 miles a day, which is like 2 laps around the Nürburgring. So it's not drastic. So that's a really good thing. I really like that. The other thing that I really like is the free updates and DLCs. Now, I've only bought the game. I've never paid any for the DLCs because it's all free. You get all free DLCs, just like GTA 5. And even with Forza Horizon 4 as well, we're getting free updates as well. And that's absolutely fantastic because free content, you can never go wrong. The only downside is, but I think with Forza though, because it is free, they're not putting the effort into it as much, and that's why the car sounds not very good. Sometimes the car detailing is not that good. Whereas when you actually pay for a DLC, you're actually funding the updates. You're funding the firm for doing the updates, which then means the quality can be therefore a little bit better. But free updates is always cool. The next thing that's really cool is the fantastic car physics in Gran Turismo Sport. I've really got on well with the physics in Gran Turismo Sport. Sometimes it can feel a little bit easy, and the grip levels can be a little bit too high at certain occasions. Like if you put your foot down in a 500 brake horsepower car with a steering wheel on full lock, it doesn't drift, which isn't very realistic. But then it's definitely a game which is all for everyone. People can just jump into it and they can get on with the physics really well. The brakes are a little bit spongy in that game, I feel. It's definitely one of the games where the brakes aren't really there. You got to really brake far away from a bend before you don't actually stop. But really, that's the only concern I have with the physics, and the physics are fantastic. I've really got on with them well, and they're really enjoyable. And as I say, I come to the game all the time to go as my go-to game, just to have a play and fun with. The other thing that's really good about this game is the difficulty. Gran Turismo 4 and 5 were really difficult, I thought. To get golds and everything, it was unbelievably difficult. I still haven't managed it to this day to get golds and everything in those games. I can't be bothered to do it anymore. It's just too much. Gran Turismo Sport, on the other hand, regardless, avoiding the last couple of career modes, the difficulty was really good. The licenses weren't too difficult. They had a couple of difficult bits. There's no point having a really easy game at the end of the day. But having a game that's too difficult is worse, because you just end up selling it or just not being interested in it because it's just too difficult. Where if it's too easy, maybe the same happens. But then, yeah, I think for some people the licenses were too easy, but for myself they were just on the right level. They were borderline hard, but borderline too easy. So I think the difficulty was very well judged in Gran Turismo Sport, and I'd love to see that in Gran Turismo 7. The other thing is, I know the difficulty can be a bit of a problem for players, as some people really like a difficulty game, but maybe the option is to have a difficulty selection in Gran Turismo Sport, in Gran Turismo 7, sorry, later on, if you want it easy, hard, or not. The only downside is with that, it could work like Drive Club, where you can have it on easy, but you only can achieve silver stars. Even if you get the maximum, you can only achieve silver stars, where if you have it hard, you can then get gold. That I found was really demotivating. I didn't like that at all, especially with some of the races in Drive Club are really difficult. But either way, Gran Turismo Sport's difficulty was really good. The only thing I didn't like about it as well was as I mentioned, the later career modes. There was a couple of championships at the end, especially like the Historics Championships with the Ferrari 330 P4, the Jaguar XJ13, and cars like that. There was too many laps. It would end up like there were 5-lap races, and you'd end up doing like 20-minute races to then lose at the end. Was quite irritating. So I've never completed them because I just can't be bothered. So I end up just buying the cars and just enjoy the cars and ignore the story in the end. But that was where it becomes too difficult for me, and that's where I'd lose interest in the game. So, but for the rest of the game, difficulty was very well judged. So now moving on to the bad problems with the Gran Turismo Sport. There's not many, but there's a couple. The elephant in the room for me really was the online only problem with this game. The game doesn't work offline. Well, it does work, which is the reason why I still play and keep the game. It's because it does still work offline, but nothing saves. So I've got all the cars now in the game. In 10 years time from now, when the servers have gone, I can still drive them cars and enjoy those cars, but then I won't be able to restart the game or save any progress, which is really annoying. But at least the game is still playable, unlike games like the Crew 2, where if you lose if the servers are discontinued, or you don't have the internet, that's it, the game doesn't work at all. So that's why I do play Gran Turismo Sport still, but it's still irritating the fact that it is online only, and I really hope they get rid of that in Gran Turismo 7. The other problem with Gran Turismo Sport is a poor car list. Especially versus GT4, GT5 and GT6, we've lost so many cars. I think it's over 500 cars we've lost in the end, despite the repeats of cars like the Skylines and the Toyota Supras and a couple of others, where there's just so many different versions of the same car, it's a bit pointless. But regardless of that, we have lost so many cars, and it is quite disappointing sometimes when you jump in the game and you think, oh, why is that car not in the game? Oh, that car's not in the game. Like for myself, I'm a bit of a Jaguar, Aston Martin, BMW fan, and there's a lot of cars in those free manufacturers that aren't there. Like DB9 Aston Martin's not there. One of my favourite cars, it's not there anymore. It was in Gran Turismo 6, but not Sport. Like the S-Type R as well, that was in Gran Turismo 6, even though it was a simplified car. It was still available. So that's unfortunate that we have lost the car list, but then if we have the awesome graphics and the awesome detailing, some cars may need to be sacrificed. But still, it's still a little bit disappointing though. The other problem with Gran Turismo Sport is the poor car customization. The customization in that game is tragic. For some reason, I seem to remember the developers of Gran Turismo Sport said that people nowadays aren't interested in customizing cars, and I feel that is totally wrong, completely wrong. Look at Forza Horizon, for example, how good the customization is in that, or how the customization has developed into Need for Speed Heat. Sorry, Need for Speed Heat is quite a good customization. There's some things there that are a little bit weird, but it's definitely a lot better than it was in Payback after the abuse Payback got. And so I think customizing cars is still a big part of racing games, and I'm pleased they are returning that in Gran Turismo 7, but it's just a bit of a sour spot in Gran Turismo Sport, because obviously it's just slidey bars and just upgrade packages rather than like turbos and valve seats and brakes and brake oils and all brake fluids, sorry, and all that sort of thing. It was fantastic, Gran Turismo 4 and 5 and 6 for customization, but obviously not Sport. Another problem I found with Gran Turismo Sport was there was no reward cards for completing the story. It wasn't really any incentives for completing the story in Gran Turismo Sport versus Gran Turismo 6, for example. As there are no cars unlockable other than the ones in the licenses like Lamborghini Veneno, which you did unlock through doing the licenses but not the career. So I don't know why they didn't transfer that over to the career, but it would be nice if they did do that. Talking about the graphics, this is where the graphics have sort of gone a bit wrong. Is the rendering of circles. I don't know what it is with Gran Turismo Sport, but some car dials, like climate control dials and knobs, for the mirrors, some mirrors don't look quite right, and the starter buttons, they're not round. They kind of look round in the shade, like when you've gone under a bridge or something. It's a bit of shade there. It looks all right, but when you go into direct sunlight, it's very hexagonal and it's a bit distracting, and it doesn't suit the graphics, because the graphics look photorealistic. Then you look at the starter button, I think it's the Raybrig NSX in Gran Turismo Sport. The starter button is like a hexagonal. It shouldn't be. It should be round. So that's the only thing that they do seem to struggle on in that game. So it'd be great to see what they've done in Gran Turismo 7 if they've sorted that problem out. Another problem with Gran Turismo Sport, I know I mentioned the car sounds were fantastic, but I do find, I don't know whether it's my copy, whether it's my download, whether it's my TV or my headphones, but I seem to suffer with sound quality issues where at certain RPM, certain cars, certain acceleration pressures, the sound quality has a sharp static sound, as if you've pulled your headphones out a little bit, and it makes a horrible sort of click sound. Again, I don't know whether it's an isolated issue, whether it's myself, something to do with my TV, headphones, whatever, that causes this. But I do hear it every now and again, and it is quite distracting. It can be quite sharp as well. But that's the only thing I have suffered with. But again, if you've suffered that, please let me know down in the comments below. But if you haven't, if it's something to do with maybe a setting I've got in my TV that you might know of, that'd be awesome to know. And the last problem with this game is the menu music customization. In previous Gran Turismos, like Gran Turismo 6, 5 and 4, you could customize the music from the library to go into the menu, which is fantastic because it makes it more customizable, more personal. But this time around, they seem to have a library, but no option to then make the music customizable for the menu, which is really sad, because sometimes there's some really good music in Gran Turismo. Unless I couldn't find this option, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It might be a thing that's available in that game, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And to me, it doesn't seem like that's an option anymore. So that's a little thing that I'm a little bit disappointed with Gran Turismo Sport. So there we go. So there's the review on Gran Turismo Sport. It's a fantastic game. Despite its little flaws, I think it's an absolutely fantastic game. I'm really pleased that the Gran Turismo has taken a really good step in improving the series. Despite the fact the car list is pretty tragic and the fact the game's online only, I'm hoping they don't carry those two factors on. But car lists will mature over time. It's like Forza Horizon 4. The cars in that game they had quite a few. There was quite a few really cool rare cars in that game. But you can imagine now, I think we've gained like 200 odd since through DLCs and updates. So as you can imagine, the DLCs are going to mature over time. But I think the Gran Turismo Sport is my go. As I say, is my go-to game now. As So if I want a bit of fun in a car, like yeah, fancy driving or something, it sounds good, I go and play that, and it's just easy. It's just something to de-stress, it's something to just have a bit of fun with, and yeah, I think it's a really good game, and I'm really looking forward to Gran Turismo 7 now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video today. Please let me know of your opinions down in the comments below. It'd be nice to know what you feel. Please like, subscribe, do the usual, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.